TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, IDF Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi announces Israel is prepared for war with the Islamic organizations in the Gaza Strip as IDF troops concluded a divisional exercise that was held along the Hamas-controlled Palestinian enclave. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows never to uproot any Jewish communities across the West Bank. The United States has announced its decision to impose new sanctions on the Islamic Republic of Iran, this time targeting Tehran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif. A Palestinian Islamist from the Gaza Strip infiltrated into Israel overnight armed with an AK-47 assault rifle and several hand grenades. Upon breaching the security fence, an exchange of fire ensued between the Islamist militant and an IDF force that was dispatched to the area. During the incident, an IDF officer was moderately injured and two other combat soldiers sustained light injuries before the assailant was killed. Furthermore, a Hamas military post was targeted by an IDF tank during the incident, causing extensive damage. IDF spokesman Brigadier General Ronen Manelis revealed that an initial assessment is that the terrorist acted independently. He further noted that the attack occurred in the area where the IDF is currently constructing an underground barrier along the border in order to prevent Palestinian terror groups from building offensive cross-border attack tunnels. In the meantime, the IDF officer who sustained moderate injuries underwent an operation at the Soroka Medical Center in the southern Israeli city of Beersheba, where all three of the wounded troops had been hospitalized following the attack. The violent incident occurred just several hours after the IDF announced the completion of a divisional exercise that was held in the sector of the IDF's Gaza division. According to information that the IDF provided TV7, this exercise was the latest in a series of drills meant to prepare the Israeli military for a wide-scale conflict in the terror-infested Palestinian enclave. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi visited the exercise, during which he voiced his satisfaction with the military's preparedness ahead of a potential campaign in the Gaza Strip.
אני מתרשם לא רק מהביקור, אלא לאורך הרבה מאוד דיונים וחיתוכי מצב ותרגילים שעשינו בחודשים האחרונים. אני מתרשם שחלה פה עליית מדרגה משמעותית ביותר. אני חושב שגם הפיקוד, גם האוגדה, ושוב עם עזרה של כל המטה הכללי, עשו פה תהליך הכנות מקיף, רציני מאוד, ואני מתרשם שרמת המוכנות מאוד 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 גבוהה למערכה אפשרית ברצועת עזה.
The Israeli military chief underscored in his meeting with IDF commanders of the Gaza division that they must remain vigilant as the assumption that a conflict can erupt in the Gaza Strip any day remains.
אנחנו לא נותנים לרגיעה הזאת לבלבל אותנו, אנחנו לא נותנים לרגיעה הזאת להטעות אותנו, ואנחנו נמשיך בתהליך ההתכוננות מתוך הנחה שברצועת עזה יכול לפרוץ עימות כל יום.
An IDF official emphasized in a conversation with TV7 that the exercise was planned as part of the military's 2019 training program under the directives of Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi and is intended to maintain the readiness of the forces. Now in other news, Israel has announced its plan to build an additional 6,000 new housing units across Judea and Samaria, 2 out of the 3 districts that make up the West Bank. The announcement came just after the Israeli Security Cabinet also approved permits for 700 new housing units that will be earmarked for the Palestinian sector. That said, the move to approve the new Palestinian housing units, which was lobbied by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu under reported pressure from the Trump administration, infuriated Israeli settler leaders who warned of potential consequences. In an effort to secure their support ahead of Israel's upcoming national parliamentary elections, Netanyahu sought to reassure the settler population of his adamant support for the eternal preservation of the Jewish communities across what is viewed as internationally disputed lands. As such, the Prime Minister vowed during an inauguration ceremony of a new promenade in the West Bank settlement of Efrat, which is located just several kilometers south of Bethlehem, that under his watch, no settlement or settler will be uprooted.
רואים את העבר, ההווה והעתיד. ואני נתתי לכם התחייבות שאתה מוכיח אותה הלכה למעשה. אף יישוב ואף מתיישב לא יכיר. לא יהיה, נגמר הדבר הזה.
בעזרת השם.
מה שאתם עושים פה, הנצח.
Palestinian leaders responded to Jerusalem's decision to build 6,000 new housing units for Israeli residents across the West Bank, decrying it as a projection of Israel's so-called colonial mentality.
This is one way in which this Israeli government is trying to legitimize its illegal war crime of building settlement units in Area C. And they're using the very flimsy excuse or pretext that they will enable the Palestinians to build 600 or 700 units on their own land in Area C in exchange for the Israelis building 6,000 settler units in land which doesn't belong to Israel. This land is Palestinian land.
It is important to know that Ashrawi's voiced claim, which is aligned with the common Palestinian narrative, is detached from reality, as the territories were never historically under Palestinian control. The lands she refers to, commonly known as the West Bank, were under the control of the Ottoman Empire from the last days of 1516 until 1917, when the British Empire conquered the territory. Following the departure of British forces, which led to the establishment of the Jewish state and the Arab-Israeli War of 1948, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan seized control of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. The Jordanian control of the territory ended, however, in 1967, when Israel overwhelmed all of its Arab neighbors and seized control of many territories that included the Golan Heights from Syria in the north, the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt to the west, and the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan to the east. Since then, the Jewish state returned some of the territories it controlled in exchange for peace, while annexing strategic areas that were either part of its ancient biblical history or perceived as vital for its national security interests. That said, despite the strong biblical connection to the West Bank, the Israeli leadership refrained over the years from annexing the territories, mostly out of concern over the devastating impact a demographic shift would have over the Jewish character of the State of Israel. That is why Jerusalem categorized the West Bank into 3 districts, where it maintains security and administrative control over Area C of the territory, as well as security control over Area B, while it permits the Palestinian leadership to maintain administrative control over Area B and full administrative and security control over Area A, where the city of Ramallah is situated. Now, in other news, the United States has announced its decision to impose new sanctions on the Islamic Republic of Iran, this time targeting Tehran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif. According to a statement by the U.S. State Department, the decision was made after President Donald Trump signed an executive order on the 24th of June imposing sanctions on the Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ali Khamenei, and the Supreme Leader's office, while authorizing sanctions on others associated with the Supreme Leader. As such, the United States decided to sanction the Iranian regime's foreign minister, Mohammad Zarif, who has acted on behalf of the Supreme Leader. Despite international statements that claimed Zarif to be a moderate that does not represent the regime, Washington argued that Iran's foreign ministry is not merely the diplomatic arm of the Islamic Republic, but also a means of advancing many of the Supreme Leader's destabilizing policies. The State Department further insisted in a statement put forward by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo that the only path forward is a comprehensive deal that addresses the full range of its threats. It underscored that until a new deal is adopted, the U.S. campaign of diplomatic isolation and maximum economic pressure against Iran will continue. Thank you for watching us. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hessen. Have Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.
Hi, this is Mayan Hessen from TV7 Israel News. Like our videos? Support our cause? Enjoy learning more about the region? Want constant updates about the Middle East? Then subscribe to the TV7 Israel News YouTube channel. Make sure to also turn on the notification bell with just one simple click of a button. After subscribing to our channel, a bell icon will appear under every one of our videos. You will find the notification bell right next to the subscribe button, and all you have to do is click on the bell icon, and make sure small sound bars appear above it. This way, you'll be alerted every time we upload a new video, and thus will never miss a thing. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.